As I stand in my kitchen, the aroma of warm bread fills the air. It's the scent that wraps around my heart, a comforting reminder of simpler times. I reach for the flour, my hands moving deftly as I measure it into the mixing bowl. Flour dust dances in the sunlight, streaming through the window, illuminating the countless sacrifices I made for my son, Michael. I always believed love was baked into everything I prepared, every meal a testament to my devotion. I think back to his childhood, when he eagerly awaited dinner. I can still hear his laughter filling our small home. Those were the days when our bond felt unbreakable, before life tested our connection. I can picture the joy on his face as I pulled a fresh pie from the oven, a reward for his hard work in school. The plastic trophy he received in the 3rd grade still sits on the shelf, a constant reminder of both his achievements and my role in nurturing them. In those moments, I sacrificed my dreams, my love for painting, my desire for travel, aiming to ensure he had everything he needed to thrive. I remember the nights I stayed up late, sewing his costumes for school plays, ignoring my own fatigue, all to see that sparkle in his eyes. How could I have known then how the tides would turn? My heart swells with a mix of pride and sorrow, a twisted knot in my stomach as the past collides with the present. I set the dough aside, allowing it to rise as I focus on what lies before me. My loving gestures are now met with indifference, particularly from Samantha. When she entered our lives, everything changed. At first, she was charming and polite, seamlessly fitting into our family dynamic. But with each passing family gathering, the subtle undertones of her contempt became clear, seeping through her crisp laughter and sweet smiles. Michael was such a bright spot in my life, but as Samantha began to take center stage, I felt the gravity of her presence crushing my spirit. I remember one family dinner not long after their wedding. I had slaved over a lasagna, my signature dish, layers of love and care baked into every bite. As I placed it on the table, I felt a wave of pride wash over me, but Samantha's dismissive glance chilled me. "Oh, I thought you were trying a healthier recipe," she quipped, an air of mockery in her voice. Michael chuckled lightly, and I saw in his eyes a flicker of uncertainty, as if he was caught between two worlds. Those moments grew in frequency, marking the beginning of a painful shift. My kitchen, once a haven of warmth, now feels fraught with tension, a battleground where love collides with arrogance. I often find myself standing by the window, stirring my thoughts as I watch the trees sway outside, longing for the closeness we once shared, reminiscing about the days when my heart felt full of purpose. But the reality is undeniable. The quiet kindness I once offered seems to elude the eyes of my son. The power dynamics shift slowly but surely, and as waiting evenings turn into lonely hours in a dimly lit kitchen, I begin to fear that this painful separation was what I had unknowingly invited into my life. Yet, I can't help but cling to the hope that beneath this turbulent surface, our bond still holds some vestige of truth. I take a breath, inhaling the familiar scent of rising bread as my mantra silently echoes within me. Injustice shall not silence my heart. With every need, I reaffirm my identity, my love, an unwavering thread woven into the fabric of our family, even amidst the tensions that now seem so insurmountable. I glance at the oven timer, that a simple beep serving as a reminder that while dough rises, so too must I. The crisp fall air carried whispers of change as we prepared for the family gathering to celebrate Michael's birthday. I had spent the entire week planning the menu, his favorite dishes meticulously crafted with love. The house hummed with familiar activity. Laughter from my grandchildren echoed through the halls, and the warmth from the oven beckoned me closer. Yet, as I arranged the table, a carefully set tableau of colors and textures. It felt as though shadows lurked just beyond my peripheral vision. When Samantha first entered our lives, she appeared the epitome of grace, her charm disarming every critical eye. I remember our first encounter vividly, the way her eyes sparkled with joy, the enthusiasm that ignited in Michael as he introduced her. It felt like I had opened the door to a new era, one that might bring renewed happiness into our home, but that sparkle was mottled. What began as admiration gradually took on a tint of disdain. That initial family dinner, under the soft glow of candles, contained an undercurrent that I failed to notice at the time. As I served my famous beef stew, Samantha smiled sweetly, thanking me in front of Michael and the children. But the way she looked at me, it was a mixture of gratitude and something else, something piercing that unsettled the warmth I felt. It was a warning I didn't recognize. As time wore on, subtle jabs began to penetrate our gatherings. During another Sunday brunch, I overheard her dismissively refer to my hand-knit sweaters as sweet but outdated. My fingers tightened around my coffee cup as I forced a smile, feigning indifference. "They are cozy," I replied, attempting to hold on to the shards of my dignity. Michael, blissfully unaware, simply chuckled, prompted by her smirk. Weeks turned into months, and family events mirrored the disquiet brewing beneath the surface. At first, the comments were subtle, a sharpness wrapped in sweetness, as if she wielded sarcasm like a gift. I began to feel those sharp edges digging into my heart. I remembered chastising myself for feeling so sensitive. After all, she was family. Yet my skin prickled whenever she spoke, expertly spinning my efforts into something trivial. Then came the fateful Thanksgiving dinner. I had spent the better part of 3 days cooking. The turkey roasted to golden perfection, while the sweet potatoes bubbled softly, their marshmallow topping glistening like jewels. I felt a sense of fulfillment as I laid out my prized dishes, convinced they would be met with warmth and appreciation. Samantha arrived with a store-bought pie, parading it around as if it were the pièce de résistance. "I just thought we could all use a light alternative today," she declared, her voice dripping with false cheer. The way her eyes darted toward my stewed carrots conveyed more than her words ever could. My heart sank deeper as Michael's excitement morphed into nervousness, and I caught him glancing between the two of us, unsure and bogged down by the divided loyalties playing out before him. After the meal, as laughter filled the air, I noticed my grandchildren gravitating toward Samantha, hanging on her every word. A pang of jealousy shot through me, though guilt quickly followed. Shouldn't family always rise above competition? Yet there I stood, invisible, the matriarch, unrecognizable against her increasingly dominant presence, and it grew worse. In the weeks that followed, I felt breakthroughs of joy at family gatherings less frequently. Samantha's incessant snipes chipped away at my spirit. During one particularly chaotic afternoon at my house, when the kids were distracted by a movie, I ventured into the kitchen for an early dessert. My heart fluttered at the thought of shared joy, but upon entering, I overheard Samantha's laughter mingling with my son's voice. "Your mom's cooking is good, but very much of a simpler time, right?" she teased, her laughter punctuating the air like a knife. Michael's laughter followed. He didn't realize how deeply those words stung. My stomach twisted into knots, a painful reminder that my efforts had become nothing more than fodder for their amusement. Days after that painful moment, I grew withdrawn, caught in a whirlwind of conflict between my maternal love and the oppressive atmosphere that Samantha cultivated. I could feel my heart beating like a war drum against the silence Michael created. Even when we sat together on the couch watching a movie, I felt his presence beside me like a beautiful echo that faded into emptiness. I began to see the gaping fissures in our relationship, a chasm caused not just by Samantha's cruelty but also by Michael's silence, his unwillingness to confront the truth looming above us like storm clouds. Yet I still held on to precious memories of Michael's childhood, a time filled with pure laughter echoing throughout the house. Those memories were my anchor even as the tides of our family changed around me. I yearned for the days of ice cream sundaes piled high on summer nights, for stolen moments when he'd confide his dreams in the dim light of my kitchen. It felt now like chasing shadows, every encounter with him carved deeper into my heart, leaving me wondering how to reclaim our bond in a world controlled by Samantha's manipulation. As I navigate the complexity of these silent humiliations, my mantra reverberates in my thoughts. Injustice shall not silence my heart. With each day passing, the refusal to let go of my dignity became my battle cry. I clung to the hope that perhaps, just perhaps, the light of our family could still pierce through the growing darkness. As the holidays approached, draped in a chill that mirrored the tension in our home, I faced the reality of what my family had become. The twinkling lights strung around the house created a semblance of warmth, but inside there was a heaviness I could not shake. I found myself investing all my energy into preparing cherished dishes for our Christmas gathering, holding on to the hope that sharing food might bridge the growing gap between us. In the weeks leading up to Christmas, I noticed the sharpness of Samantha's remarks becoming more pronounced. Each casserole and dessert I lovingly prepared was met with her veiled insults. "Oh, another classic. How quaint," she said with a smirk at one gathering, making a spectacle of my efforts. I stood motionless, heart sinking, feeling as though my years of culinary tradition had become fodder for her amusement. The laughter around me, a mosaic of joy and love, contrasted painfully with the embers of resentment smoldering within my chest. To escape the oppressive atmosphere, I sought refuge in my garden. Kneeling among the fragrant herbs and blooming flowers, I found solace as I dug my fingers into the soil, grounding myself in the simple beauty of nature. There, surrounded by the vibrant colors of my hard work, I whispered my worries to the earth, allowing the scents of rosemary and basil to envelop me, a soothing balm against the harsh realities inside. Despite this sanctuary, reality inevitably beckoned me back. One evening, after a particularly challenging day, I paused just outside the kitchen, listening as Samantha and Michael's voices carried through the doorway. "Can you just talk to her? It's exhausting," Samantha urged, her tone cutting through the warm air like a serrated knife. My heart sank deeper as I heard Michael's silence, met with Samantha's impatient sigh, a silence revealing more than any words ever could. In those moments I felt invisible, like a ghost haunting my own home. After the brief conversation I overheard, I braced myself for the inevitable collision of truths. Michael finally ventured into the kitchen to check on me, finding me lost in thought, stacking dishes in an attempt to distract myself. "Hey, Mom, what are you doing?" His casual tone felt like a thin veil masking our fraying connection. "Just getting things ready for Christmas," I replied, forcing a smile. The laughter I remembered from our baking sessions felt like a distant memory, as tension thickened the air around us. I tried to draw him in, to share the joy of our holiday traditions, but the connection between us felt fragile, trapped beneath layers of festering wounds. Samantha soon stepped back into the scene, her presence dominating. "Are you still making those cookies? You really could use a quicker method, don't you think?" Her words dripped with condescension, and I felt a wave of heat rise to my face. I grasped the wooden spoon tightly, knuckles whitening as I ground through the bitterness threatening to spill from my lips. As I focused on mixing the dough, my mantra echoed within me. Injustice shall not silence my heart. This reminder became my lifeline, whether she realized it or not. The holidays were meant for joy, but I could feel the tightrope of this family becoming thinner with every snide comment. The crescendo of my frustration built as I worked side by side with Michael, Bob Dylan softly strumming from the radio in the background. I recalled the countless times we had baked together, flour dusting our cheeks, laughter filling the kitchen. But the distance between us felt like an impenetrable wall. Finally, the Christmas celebration arrived. I dressed the table with my best china, placing candles in the center to combat the encroaching darkness. I spent the afternoon preparing the roast, pouring my love into every seasoning, hoping the aroma would revive connections long dormant. Yet, as we all gathered around the table, I felt the chill of Samantha's eyes on me, her unspoken judgments swirling like winter winds. During the meal, each of Samantha's jabs landed heavy, her laughter ringing louder than mine. I turned to Michael, silently seeking the glimmer of understanding that used to exist between us. But he remained locked behind the fortress built by his wife's narrative, laughter escaping his lips at her quips, while my heart sank like a stone. In those moments of painful clarity, I knew a change was necessary. I refused to allow her cruelty to erode what was left of our family bonds. The distance had grown, saplings of resentment sprouting from the roots of misunderstanding. It was time to confront the shadows that loomed over us. As dinner drew to an end, I realized I had to be brave enough to reclaim my space, once again tested by the fight for love within this family. The table, beautifully set, still felt alien, and I felt that the light we held dear was being extinguished. With renewed resolve, I decided I would harness this opportunity to address the growing injustice allowed to fester unchecked. No longer could I remain the silent matriarch, waiting for a better time to speak. I was ready to face the shadows and breathe life back into what I had nearly lost. The room felt stifling as the last bite of dessert faded into the stillness, the noise of laughter replaced by tense silence. I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of unspoken words pressing against my chest. The time had come for me to confront the injustice that had seeped into our family like a poison, and I would not let fear dictate my voice any longer. I looked around the table, scrutinizing each face. Samantha, with her carefully crafted smile, appearing as if butter wouldn't melt in her mouth. Michael, sitting like a marble statue, devoid of the warmth I longed for. I could sense the distance in his gaze, only occasionally flickering toward me as though he were unsure whether to step into the fray or retreat behind his walls. "Michael," I began, my voice steady yet trembling with the weight of my intention. "Can we talk?" His brow furrowed, glancing at Samantha. "About what, Mom?" "About the way things have been lately," I said, my palms clammy against the table's polished surface. My mantra reverberated in my mind. Injustice shall not silence my heart. I forged ahead despite the turmoil swirling within me. I felt like an outsider in my own home, like you both value the laughter over honesty. Samantha shifted in her seat, a sudden defensiveness radiating from her. I met her gaze, careful not to back down. The flicker in her eyes told me she knew what I was about to say could uncover layers of truth neither of them wanted to confront. "Mom," Michael interjected, concern etching itself across his face. "You know Samantha loves you, right?" "Love? Is that what you call it when her laughter echoes my pain?" I shot back, the intensity of my frustration spilling over. The hurtful words she'd uttered over the months, seemingly harmless jokes, had accumulated like rocks in my heart, heavy and suffocating. Samantha's expression hardened, her mouth pressed into a thin line. "It's just humor," that's all. We're joking, not mocking. Are you? I volleyed, my heartbeat quickening. Your jokes feel personal, Samantha. They claw at the very core of what I've built for this family. I don't believe I'm less worthy of love or respect because I cook from a cookbook rather than a trend. Michael's discomfort flickered in the air, creating a taut atmosphere that kept the room in a standstill. Mom, you need to understand that she doesn't mean it that way. I understand fully, I cut him off. But there's a difference between intent and impact, and I am tired of being the punchline. For a moment, silence lingered, the heat of our shared history enveloping us. It was a fragile piece, and I could feel the urgency to break it before my courage evaporated. The truth lay simmering beneath our interactions, ready to boil over. Let's look at this another way, I suggested, injecting control into my voice. When did you become the standard of what's worthy of belonging here? Not just your opinions on my cooking, but how I should fit into this new family dynamic. Samantha bristled, shooting daggers with her gaze, while Michael squirmed uneasily in his seat. It's not about standards, Mom, he said defensively. We just sometimes want to move forward, and those happier moments. His voice trailed off, lost in the heaviness of unsaid realities. Is this what it means to move forward? I pressed. By eroding the foundations I built with love and sacrifices throughout your life, the moments my heart danced through, flower-covered smiles and shared secrets. You might find it trivial, but those are the bonds that hold us together. Samantha crossed her arms, clearly agitated. We aren't trying to undermine you, she said, the coolness of her demeanor beginning to crack slightly. But you have to let go of the past to embrace the future. It's not healthy to hold on to old ways. The dismissal of my history gouged at me, fueling my resolve to unearth the truth behind the veiled manipulations and slights. I needed to dig beneath Samantha's surface-level charm to expose the unsettling juxtaposition of her words and actions. Let's examine this future you're talking about, I said carefully, gauging their reactions. Who defines this future? If I'm to step aside and allow someone else to chart the course for my family, isn't that the very definition of relinquishing my dignity? The silence was deafening. Every minute detail in the room came alive. The gentle ticking of the clock, the fading sunlight outside slipping behind the horizon, casting serene shadows against the wall. I could see the wheels turning in Michael's mind, yet he remained silent, indecisive. Let's break this down, I continued. Samantha, you've entered our family and with it, changed the landscape. You claim that you wish for unity and togetherness, yet your humor often tears down rather than builds up. You're not just standing beside my son, you're actively shaping his perception of me. Mom, please, Michael said, his voice tinged with frustration. It's not that simple. She tries to include you. We're together. That should be enough. Is it enough to turn a blind eye to the harm being done? I countered, my heart racing. During the times I looked after you, helped you, was there ever a moment when I discredited your dignity? Did I judge your relationships the way she judges me? The room crackled with tension, each word slicing through the air. I saw a flicker of uncertainty pass over Michael's features, but Samantha only dug her heels in deeper, unwilling to concede. As the red sun dipped below the horizon, so did my patience. The time had come to unearth the realities we all avoided. What are you two really afraid of? That this family might crumble if we face the truth? If I reclaim my voice and you, Michael, risk standing with me, unified against the ridicule? Michael's gaze faltered, and in that moment of vulnerability, I seized my chance. It was time to strip away the layers of silence and pain and reveal what lay beneath. Our family's foundation had weathered storms before, but never without facing the truths buried deep within us. We need to rebuild the love that has been overshadowed by mockery, I asserted with quiet strength, and embrace the real humor of family, the type that lifts us up, not tears us apart. With the light fading, the discussions before us like an unwritten script, I felt as though this was the turning point, a chance to reclaim the family we had lost in the shadows of fear and misunderstanding. I would not let silence dictate our story any longer. We would rise together or face the consequences of leaving my voice unheard. The table felt charged, an electric web of silence enveloping us. I could feel the atmosphere shift, as though the very air were thick with unformed thoughts and unsaid fears. Michael's discomfort rippled through the room, a tangible force urging him to confront the dichotomy of his loyalties. The flickering candlelight cast dancing shadows, reflecting the uncertainties that hung between us. I took a moment to steady myself. I wasn't here to destroy. I sought to rebuild. Michael, I said slowly, choosing my words with care. I know this is hard. You've always found yourself in the middle of our arguments. Yours is not an easy position. He rubbed the back of his neck, and I could see the internal battle play out on his face. It's just, she's my wife, Mom. I have to support her. And I supported you, didn't I? My voice softened. Every late night, every soccer game, every scraped knee, I was there. It was my job to stand by you and lift you up. The warmth of that memory mingled with the coldness of the present. All I'm asking for is the same in return. Stand with me as I try to rebuild what we once had. You can have both of us in your life, but someone has to acknowledge the hurt. The silence that ensued felt like a lifetime. Michael shifted uneasily, glancing from me to Samantha, who remained composed yet visibly perturbed. I could see the tension coiling in her jaw, the way her fingers fidgeted at her side, a telltale sign of her rage brewing beneath the surface. She interjected, trying to shift the dynamic, her voice sharp. This is about more than just you two. You're making this personal. Perhaps it should be personal. I shot back, my voice rising slightly with the urgent pulse of my conviction. Samantha, you can't come into our family and dictate what's acceptable. You've reshaped our dynamics, disregarding years of history. I'm not opposed to change, but I refuse to be belittled in the process. Her lips tightened as she glared back. You think you're the only one who gets to lay claim to family heritage? Newsflash, every relationship requires adjustments. You cling to tradition like it's a life raft. You're right. Change is part of growth, I countered, my voice harder now. But so is respect. If you want to grow with us, you need to find a way to incorporate, not obliterate, the past. The truth hung heavy in the air, palpable and painful. I wasn't just trying to reclaim my dignity, I was structuring my plea for survival in a family that felt like it was fracturing around me. The risk of losing Michael was real, but the more significant loss was watching the laughter that had once echoed in our home turn into barbs that stung. Why is it so hard to have a conversation without twisting it into some fight? Michael said, frustration creeping into his tone. Because every conversation is difficult when you want to avoid the truth, I replied, unwavering, and we must confront what's really happening here. That's not how I see it, Samantha interjected, her voice a pitch higher now. You make everything into an attack. Michael and I— Here's the thing, Samantha, I interrupted again, the heat of honest feeling igniting my resolve. If you continue to belittle the very fabric of our family's history while promoting your vision of unity, we won't ever get anywhere. Treating my memories like old rags to be tossed is not the way to engage. Mom, please, Michael said, his voice barely above a whisper. Just stop. The air thick with tension closed in around us, yet I pressed on, fueled by both desperation and a primal urge to protect what mattered to me. No, I won't stop. I can't stop. I won't allow you to attend to this as if it's some unimportant, and I certainly won't let you distort my reality any longer. Then what do you want? Samantha challenged, an edge in her tone. For us to worship your old ways? To learn once again how to bake cookies and follow outdated recipes? I felt the words hit me cold, a reminder of the ridicule to which I had been subjected. It's not about the recipes, Samantha. It's about the love that went into those dishes. It's about sequel family traditions, not the erasure of them. That's this whole mess, isn't it? Stuck in the past? She accused. No, I exclaimed, my voice rising. It's recognizing our roots as we grow. Change can coexist with tradition without tearing it down. You have so much potential to create something beautiful that incorporates the past. I took a breath, aware that time was slipping away. But for change to thrive, it needs to be cultivated with care and respect, not mockery. Michael's attention flickered between us, caught between the two women who had shaped him. It felt like a dance, a careful balance of vulnerability and defiance, woven through the tapestry of family ties. I could see the fight within him, the desire to defend his wife while grappling with his deep love for me. Why is this all so complicated? He murmured, the weight of the world evident in his voice. Because love is complicated. My heart swelled with determination. It's the most complicated thing of all, but it can encompass many forms. We need to figure out what accommodates all of us, not just what favors one. Samantha retreated slightly, her tough exterior cracking in the wake of our escalating dialogue. A moment of hesitation passed between us, and I sensed a shift, a potential coming together that could diffuse the tension swirling around us. Why can't we try to make a new tradition that brings us all together? I suggested, my tone softening as I reached out. Those traditions can honor us all while still being filled with love, warmth, and good memories. Family is about holding space for everyone involved. Slowly, Michael nodded. I think we might need to find some common ground, he said, his voice carrying the faintest glimmer of hope. Common ground? Together? Samantha adopted a calculating tone, her calculating eyes narrowing. Yes, I said, feeling the surge of optimism. It's about us, working from our history and creating a foundation of understanding, love, and humor. As we exchanged glances, there was a flicker of something familiar emerging, the warmth that had often graced our home. We need to communicate, Michael finally said, determination lighting his face. We all need to show up fully. And that means learning and teaching, right? Samantha ventured cautiously. Maybe I need to hear you out too about what your traditions mean. I felt a flicker of relief echo in my soul. That's exactly it, Samantha. It's not me against you. We're building a future. As the candle wax dripped and the evening shadows lengthened, I knew we were standing on the precipice of change. The conversation was painful, fraught with buried histories and complicated feelings, but it felt like the dawn of a new era for our family, one in which we could embrace both laughter and authenticity without fear. I returned to my mantra in the silence, softly reminding myself and them, injustice shall not silence my heart. This moment marked the beginning of our pivotal journey, a road fraught with challenges but rich with opportunity for healing and love together. In the days after our turning point, a tentative truce settled over our home. Silence still hovered at times, but it felt purposeful, filled with unspoken possibilities rather than discomfort. As I prepared for our first family gathering, I dove into cherished memories, constructing a plan that would weave the threads of our shared history into something new. The air was crisp that evening as I simmered a rich pot of homemade marinara, the warm scent of garlic and basil weaving its way through the house. I could hear the gentle clatter of silverware being set on the dining table, each sound sending a jolt of nerves through me. Would this simple dinner truly help us rebuild? I glanced out the window, watching for Michael and Samantha's car, my pulse quickening in anticipation. I wanted tonight to be special, one where the laughter of old memories would etch new connections between us. The sight of their car finally pulling into the driveway sent a thrill through me, blending excitement with apprehension. "Welcome home," I greeted as they stepped inside, forcing my nervous heart to radiate warmth along with my smile. Michael's eyes sparkled as he inhaled the comforting aroma of pasta, while Samantha remained stony, though a hint of curiosity flickered in her gaze. I hoped she could sense my positivity. "Wow, smells amazing," Michael exclaimed, his demeanor instantly softening. "I'm starving. Let's eat." I motioned toward the table, taking a deep breath to steady my racing heart. As I served the steaming pasta, I sought glimmers of joy in their eyes, each moment filled with both tension and possibilities. The meal unfolded, and gradually I caught snippets of enthusiasm from Michael, his playful recounting of family memories from his childhood. "Remember that disastrous lasagna we made?" he chuckled, laughter filling the air. Dad walked in, and the kitchen looked like a food explosion. Samantha couldn't help but smirk, her defenses slowly crumbling as she chimed in. "Yeah, and Toasty was covered in marinara. I thought we might have scarred him for life." Their shared laughter brought warmth flooding back into the dinner table, a feeling I desperately craved. I fought the urge to linger, afraid the moment could slip away. Instead, I leaned into the warmth, willing to soften the edges of our jagged history. "Here's hoping I don't create another food war zone tonight," I quipped, as I placed the last dish down, smiling at them both. With dinner winding down and their plates nearly clean, I felt the moment was ripe for a new discussion. What if we dedicated an evening every week to family happenings? I ventured, my heart racing with hope. A night where we share stories, memories, and just enjoy each other's company. Michael's eyes broadened with intrigue. "You mean like a family night? That sounds fun." "Yes, together we'd create traditions that embrace each of us, from laughter to cooking. A space filled with positivity," I replied, fervently wishing this idea could bridge our gaps. Samantha's posture shifted, less guarded and appearing thoughtful. "That could work, actually. We can emphasize each other's stories and engage with them." She explored the idea, eyes glinting as curiosity began to take hold. The emergence of this fragile connection felt thrilling. Our past was still palpable, but maybe it wouldn't have to define us forever. "Exactly. We can blend our past with our present and future," I said, excitement bubbling as I envisioned our renewed family dynamic. Gradually, suggestions poured forth from us all. Cooking-themed dinners, sharing generation-old recipes, crafting a family scrapbook, even garden plots where we could grow our own ingredients. Each idea felt like stitching the fabric of our family closer together, layer by layer. But then a shadow passed over Michael's face and I could sense a shift. The tension flickered back as he pondered. What about our past, the things that happened before? The question dangled in the air, heavy yet necessary. I knew we had to acknowledge our shared history with honesty. "We honor it," I replied, my voice steady. "We must remember the hurt, yes, but not allow it to hinder our journey forward. It's possible to grow while embracing what we've lived through." Samantha nodded slowly. "So we need to be honest with each other, right? Build trust as we do this?" "Exactly. We share our struggles and triumphs, presenting our feelings openly as we build a future." My heart raced, sensing their growing commitment as our collective willingness glimmered brightly. Michael's gaze softened, and a flicker of gratitude shone through, hope wrapped in anxiety. As we cleared the dishes together that night, an enduring sense of connection began to form around us. This gathering felt different. Despite the chatter of our past casting shadows, we stepped toward the light of a new beginning. With everything freshly laid out before us, I continued to whisper my mantra, holding on to its essence. Injustice shall not silence my heart. These words felt like an anchor, guiding us through choppy waters toward calmer shores. The night felt like a restart for our family, new stories waiting to be formed amid old scars. As laughter echoed through the walls and warmth seeped back into our hearts, I recognized that every new chapter held boundless potential. Together, we would learn to navigate the tumultuous and beautiful journey of family, with dignity lighting our path forward. As the candles flickered out, their faint glow illuminating our new resolve, I understood that this was only the beginning, a moment where the echoes of love, laughter, and willingness to heal converged, paving the way for something truly transformational. As our family nights continued, laughter filled the air and connections grew. The warmth of hope enveloped us, and I felt joy creeping back into our lives. One evening, laughter bubbled around the table during a game of charades, and, for the first time in a long time, our home vibrated with an energy I feared we might never recapture. Michael led the charge, cheerfully guessing the phrases I acted out, while Samantha gradually shed her previous tension, finally allowing herself to join in the fun. But suddenly, the lightness in the room dimmed as Michael's expression shifted. "I need to talk about something," he said, his voice steady yet heavy with purpose. Silence swept across us, replacing the previous mirth with a charge of uncertainty. "What's up?" I asked, my pulse quickening. "I feel there's still some unaddressed tension between you and Samantha," he continued, glancing back and forth between us. "We need to talk about the past, the things that still linger." I sensed a swell of vulnerability in the air, a mix of fear and necessity. "You're right," I said slowly, taking a moment to gather my thoughts. "We can't ignore it any longer." Samantha's eyes widened with surprise, her defenses crumbling slightly as she nodded silently. There was a fragility to this moment that both frightened and excited me. "I appreciate the progress we've made," I continued, glancing at her earnestly. "But old wounds still linger, and we must address them head on. I never wanted you to feel unheard." The tension settled around us, and I saw Samantha processing my words. "I've tried my best to fit in, but sometimes I feel like I'm an outsider," she admitted, tears welling in her eyes. "My perspective isn't appreciated, and it's painful." Michael's gaze shifted between us, sensing the depth of our shared pain. "I think we all need to be more open about how we feel. Addressing these feelings is a step toward healing," he said gently. The weight of his words hung in the air. As I nodded, I felt my own heart racing, sensing the moment's gravity. "We need to honor our past while still making room for the new," I said earnestly. "Traditions should evolve and accommodate us all." "And I want to learn," Samantha added, her voice slightly steadier. "I want to celebrate the traditions while able to share my experiences." "Then let's do that," I exclaimed, feeling a rush of hope bursting through the somber space. "Let's build a family that grows together, honoring every voice." In that moment, the flickering bond between us began to solidify, nurturing room for understanding and shared experiences. I could see relief washing over Michael's face, inviting an acknowledgement that had been long overdue. Samantha wiped her eyes and managed a small smile. "I would love that. I felt so out of place trying to navigate a family heritage that isn't mine," she said quietly. "We're stronger together," I replied, glancing between them. "If we commit to open communication, we can create something beautiful from what we've endured." With renewed strength filling the space, I knew we were stepping into a transformative moment. This wasn't just about addressing past grievances. It marked the beginning of crafting our future, truths, shaping narratives, weaving backgrounds into a new tapestry of family. To fresh starts and honest connections, I proposed, lifting my glass with a tremor of excitement. To growing together, Samantha echoed softly. In that instant, the flicker of shared hope ignited the air around us. Old shadows began to dissolve, replaced with the warmth of understanding, acceptance, and love. We were not simply tying knots around wounds, we were creating fresh threads of resilience and belonging. That night, as we dealt with our emotions, laughter mingled with the tears, bonding us in ways we hadn't thought possible. Together, we began crafting a future where every voice mattered, bathed in dignity and empathy. As I whispered my mantra, "Injustice shall not silence my heart," I felt the transformative energy weave itself through our union, becoming the guiding force in our collective journey forward. This climax marked not simply a moment of revelation, but the weaving of our new family narrative, fortified by our willingness to embrace the beautiful chaos of healing together.